Welcome to my channel. Like clockwork, my air conditioner just started, which is actually good because it is so hot and humid in the room that I'm in. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my glasses. I have not done my base at all. Normally I would do this with Scotch tape, but I just spent like 40 minutes looking for Scotch tape, which I know is somewhere in my house, and I couldn't find it. So I have actual little like made for eye shield pads. I don't like the shape of them, and these ones are particularly adhesive. They're really like, they stick, and so I'm gonna actually put a little bit of powder down before I put them on, but I'm also gonna just go ahead and use these nice kitchen shears to cut them into the shape that I want. I held them together back to back to cut them because it's probably not going to be exactly straight, but I want to make sure that I get the same shape on both sides. So I am just going to put down a little bit of powder so that they don't stick quite so well. Also, I hit pan in my powder, which is exciting. It's nice to know that I'm going to use up a product before it expires or goes bad or is just generally not good anymore. But because I'm doing kind of a more extreme eye look, I want to do my base makeup afterwards. So I'm just going to go ahead and peel little stickers off of the back of this and then try and see if I can get these so that they are even on both sides, which is the biggest advantage of using like tape or shadow shields or something that is going to help you make sure that your shapes are even, and you can see beforehand whether or not they're even and place them hopefully even. I've definitely been known to put them down and think that they're even and then put my makeup on and take them off and realize that they're not actually even at all. So this is the cute look that you get, these little flappies. Also very, very nice. They're great if you're using something like the Subculture palette where you're gonna have fallout. I'm going to actually be using the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk, and I've been wanting to do something that is very autumn. Also, we're getting close to Halloween, which I love, and today's look is a halo eye, so I thought that I would do something a little bit different. This is a look that, while I have conceptualized it in my head and I know what I want it to look like, it's something that I've never done before. So I also am using Tarte Shape Tape. I use just light, but I'm using Shape Tape instead of the primer potion for this. No real reason other than this was just what was sitting in front of me and I need to clean my room. My vanity is a mess and I keep intending to clean it, but I've been having a difficult time just being awake. I know that I've said that in multiple videos now, but it's a problem. I saw my doctor and I've started so I was doing a weekly vitamin D supplement. Now, in addition to that, I'm also doing a daily vitamin D supplement. So hopefully my vitamin D is going to get under control and any other kind of underlying issues will be figured out from there. So I'm going to go ahead and just use Desert Sand, which is the sort of fleshy color that's in here. Like it's just the lightest color, to just go ahead and set that concealer that I just put down. So today is day 17, and day 17 is a halo eye. So I'm going to start out, I'm going to go in with Eden, which is this kind of peachy color here. And I'm just going to put that up above my crease. So I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to go all the way out to the end of where the shadow shield is. So the shadow shield is really there to give me my shape, because I want this to be very dramatic and go well beyond what my normal eye look would be. And that's definitely not something that is in any way required for doing a halo eye. It's just, I'm feeling like doing something dramatic. I'm going to go into Amber next, which is right next to Eden. I'm just going to go super, super soft and really light-handed, because it's a deeper orange than what I ultimately want this to be, and I want those two to just blend together. So I want to talk about chronic fatigue a bit, because most people probably know somebody who has chronic fatigue, and it's something that you hear the phrase, but there's not a lot known about actual chronic fatigue in terms of what causes it or what should be done about it. There are definitely contradicting ideas about it. And this brush, by the way, is a Sonia Kashuk. It's out of it's just a blending brush out of some set that I got on clearance at some point. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and try. So I'm going to be using this shade here, which is OUD, and I'm not going to try to say that. And then Saffron, which is this nice red, which is one of the reasons that I actually bought this palette initially, because I was just sort of in love with that red. So I'm going to go into that first color at the outer corners, and then I'm going to go in with Saffron and kind of bring it in towards the middle. I did also grab the Ultimate Brights palette, so that if I decide that I need it to be a little more like straight up red tone, I have that there. So chronic fatigue is something that really causes a person's body to not want to do much of anything. It makes it so that you are more tired than other people. You need significantly more sleep than what is considered normal or necessary for the average human. I have had issues since I was a kid where I have always felt like I needed 12 hours of sleep. And there are people who look at me like I am freaking insane for saying that or for needing that. And it also makes it so that I have a very difficult time having energy. And one of the big reasons that I wanted to talk about it is because I've found that not only is it something that is not necessarily diagnosed that often, it's something that I know I, in my own personal life, have had to struggle a lot with people. I'm going to go into Saffron now. With people thinking that I am just being lazy. And people with chronic fatigue have to deal with that a lot, because that is sort of the general perception, is that you are just being lazy. You're not participating in things the way that other people do. It's hard for me to have energy to do things like housework, or to even have the mental capacity sometimes to be able to do my job. And I have, because I've had to, I've really pushed through that my entire life. But it's very difficult. And as I get older, it gets more and more difficult. I'm just going to use a crease brush, and I'm going to go into saffron still, and I'm going to try to concentrate some of it in here to get more of that red tone. So because people think that it is about being lazy, it also then affects self-esteem and causes depression and anxiety. And when somebody is depressed or has anxiety, that is then using their energy even more. So now their energy, what little bit they have, and certainly in my case, is then being used to try to function through depression and anxiety. And that means that I'm not able to do any of the things I'm supposed to do. And it just gets worse and worse. And it affected me in school. It has affected me in my jobs. It affects my daily life. Certainly growing up, people thought that I was lazy a lot. And I am somebody who has a lot of drive and wants to do things. I have some social anxiety, which makes it difficult to get through. And then on top of having social anxiety, I also then have to push through just not naturally having energy. And so when you're fighting those things and trying to force your body and your mind to do things that it doesn't naturally want to do, I'm going to go into the NYX Ultimate palette now and go into just the red shade here. It just becomes more and more difficult to be able to function in normal life. And the more people sort of have this negative opinion and continue to, at least in my case, make me feel like I am not doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, the more I will try to push through it. And there has been there are a lot of people who believe that if somebody is in that state, that what you should do is continued to push them. That you should push them through it, that that's the best thing that you can do, and that eventually they're going to get to a place where they're going to be able to feel better, and it's going to help their body and it's going to help their mind. That, unfortunately, is not actually how that works. I'm going to go into, this is the Crown Glam Metal, and I'm going to be using this for my halo. I'm going to go into the black that's in here. This black, in my experience, is not the most pigmented black, but that's good right now because I don't want it to be overly pigmented. I just want to deepen up this outer V. So there are now new studies coming out that are showing that pushing people who actually have chronic fatigue and making them put in physical exertion beyond what they naturally are capable of doing is basically like torture. It's awful. And I've had that experience throughout my life. I remember my stepdad, this is extreme. This is my trigger warning. My stepdad was abusive, and what I'm about to talk about was definitely a form of abuse. So my stepdad would make me go to the park that was next to this hotel that we were living in when I was like 13 or 14. And he would make me run. And he wouldn't run with me. Because, you know, while I'm supposed to be able to do it, he certainly couldn't have done it. But he would run with me a little ways. And then I was supposed to run around just this path. It wasn't an actual track. It was just a path. And then from that path, I was supposed to like just run the entire time. Like I was just magically somehow supposed to have the stamina and be in shape to be able to just run miles. And I would pass him if I didn't run the whole way, which I think maybe once ever did I manage to run the whole way. And that time I ran the whole way, and then I felt like I was going to pass out by the time I got to him. But he would like shove me and tell me that I needed to keep running. And it wasn't that I didn't want to be active. It was that I was exhausted. So if you know somebody and you think that they might have chronic fatigue and you're not sure if they have chronic fatigue or if they're being lazy, what I very strongly suggest doing is looking at what they are doing outside of whatever it is that you are wanting them to do, that you feel them not doing is making them lazy. So if, for instance, you have a kid who doesn't want to clean their room, if they're not cleaning their room, but they're going outside and they're running around with their friends and they're playing and they clearly have lots of energy, then depending on their age and depending on other circumstances, it's possible that they might just be lazy. If, however, you have a kid who doesn't want to clean their room and is telling you that it's because they're tired and they just want to lay down and sleep, or they want to do something that really doesn't require physical energy, there's a very good chance that they may have chronic fatigue or that they may have some other medical issue other than they are just being lazy. And very likely they are not just being lazy. And because they're not getting the support that they need, it's such a sad situation when I see it happen to kids. But even for adults, it's so difficult to be in a society where we are so expected to just be on all the time and to always be able to work at least 40 hours a week, very often more than 40 hours a week. And when you can't, you're not looked at as somebody who maybe has some sort of medical issues. You are looked at as somebody who is lazy and not capable of doing the things that a normal person can do. So to do this, I'm just going to line up. I'm going to look straight. My mirror's over here. So I'm going to look straight into my mirror. I'm going to line it up with my pupil, and then I'm just going to put a dot. I'm just going to pat this out with my finger. I wanted to use a flat shader brush, but that's not an option at the moment. So, and when I also just thought that I was lazy, like I thought that that was what was making me tired, that it was something wrong with me mentally, or that it was because of other medical issues that I had. And certainly at no point did I think, well, this is because I just simply have a disorder that makes me tired. and makes it difficult. I'm gonna go ahead and use Punk. But not being able to do things sucks. Like, there's no, like, nice fancy way of putting it. It just sucks. And I don't know. I was having, part of this came up because I was reading some articles on chronic fatigue, and then also I've just been having a lot of issues with it recently. If there's one person after this video that has a little more understanding and a little more compassion for somebody who is suffering from chronic fatigue, and when it comes to things like depression and anxiety, I don't ever say I'm suffering from them. I say I'm experiencing them. When it comes to chronic fatigue, it is something that I absolutely am suffering from. I 100% feel like I am suffering. I'm going to go ahead and pull these off and hope that they were even. Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job getting them even. And it's because it's different than anything else that I have ever experienced in terms of being able to have any sort of control over it at all. There is something that I can do for everything else that is wrong with me that will help in some way to relieve the issues that I am having. But when it comes to chronic fatigue, there's nothing I can do. There will likely never be anything that I can do. There's not a lot of research going into it. It's only recently been something that there has been research about at all. There are still doctors who don't believe it is a real thing, which just serves to make it even more difficult if you're somebody who is suffering to be able to get help. And it's something that slowly the medical community is starting to understand more, and they are starting to put more time and effort into helping people with chronic fatigue. I wholeheartedly believe that people in the medical industry, for the most part, are there to help people. But when there's something that they don't have training on and that they aren't familiar with, like most people with most things, it is difficult to wrap your mind around it and to not have somewhat of a negative opinion about it being real. I'm going to go ahead and put the Urban Decay 24/7 in alkaline in my waterline. I'm going to do this in both the upper and lower waterline. For my eyeliner, I am going to use the Too Faced sketch marker. This is the first time that I'm using this. It is just black. So, no fancy name for the color, just black. But this look definitely needs a wing. Outside of the actual halo, I'm going to leave my face pretty matte. So I'm not going to use, I say right now the plan is not to use any highlighter. We'll see if that changes. So if you are trying to get a thin line with your eyeliner, this is not the eyeliner to use. Or at least my first impression is that this is not the eyeliner to use. Because I just keep ending up having to go thicker and thicker in order. Right now I'm just trying to even them out. Which hopefully won't be too disastrous since this was a really nice wing. And now I'm just trying to make it even with the other side. But this definitely does not do the best job of being precise. And like most people, I do have a side that is easier, and it is the other side. So, all right, we're gonna call it a day. So I actually wasn't going to use this initially because I was going to try to do a full face using no Too Faced products, since I'm going to do a video sometime probably later this week of a full face using all Too Faced products, and now I'm wishing that I had gone with not using that. Although maybe I'll be glad when I do my next video because it means that I now have a little bit of practice with it. So I am just going to take Alkaline and go down underneath my lash line, just because that got super thick up there and I want to connect that a little bit. So I want this to be a little bit darker down here. Okay. So it looks a little weird right now because I still haven't done my eyebrows or anything either. Like, I literally did nothing prior to starting this video. So I am going to go ahead and do my brows and my foundation and everything off of camera, just because this is already going to be a really long video because I've just been yammering on and on about chronic fatigue because I've had a rough week and I've had a particularly rough day, and it just makes me really angry and really hurt when people think that people with chronic fatigue are just being lazy. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my makeup, and I will be right back. Okay, so here is the final look. I am super overexposed right now, and there's not really an easy way for me to fix that without going into camera and doing settings, and my camera is in kind of a precarious position at the moment. So just real quick to go over what I did to finish it off. I actually just realized I didn't do my eyebrows, but that's fine. I have eyebrows. I don't have to do stuff with them. So the lipstick is the Lime Crime Velveteens in Black Velvet. I love this formula. It dries down completely. It's super comfortable. It doesn't flake off. It's not super drying. They're fantastic. The eyelashes are the Vegas Nay Eyelure eyelashes in Grand Glamour. I actually do not recommend these lashes at all. My battery died, and I actually don't know how much time I have on this battery, so I'm going to try to be quick. But I wore these lashes because I knew that I wasn't going to have them on for very long. And they're very stiff. They're very hard to get on. They're not comfortable. I just don't recommend them, especially if you are new to wearing lashes. They're pretty and they're fluffy, but they're not comfortable, and they're difficult to put on. And right now this one is doing a whole funky thing over here. I don't even know what it's doing. And then I used the Urban Decay Perversion Mascara. I used the Note Cosmetics Blush in Desert Rose. And that is it. I didn't put on any highlighter. I didn't put on any powder. My foundation. I did use the Wet n Wild Photo Focus HD foundation, and this is in Shell Ivory. This is not as white as I look on the screen right now. I think that the black lipstick is really messing with the camera. I'm trying to get it so that the focal point is on a part of me that's white, so that maybe it will stop freaking out so much. If I had done my eyebrows, I would have used the MAC Shape and Shade Brow Tint. This is something that I'm just starting to use. I'm trying to figure out the best way to use it. On one side, it's like a really thin, almost like a liquid eyeliner, like a brush to be able to draw little brush hairs. And then on the other side is like a little sponge applicator thing that has powder. There we go. So it's an interesting product. Trying to decide whether or not I like it. So yep, that's it for this look. Like I said, my camera is probably gonna die again soon, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for being here. Hope that you are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you're at, and have a great day. Bye.